What's going on? What's going on? It's your boy, Story Seller Jet, with another episode of the Dat'z So Fire Talkshow. And today we have a second live. Let's go, baby. And we have my man, Kris, on the talk show today.
What's up? What's up?
What's up? What's up?
How are you, man?
Fantastic, man. Super excited to have you here.
Happy to be here, man.
Yeah, you just landed?
Yeah, just landed like an hour ago.
An hour ago, and here you are, chopping it live with me on the talk show.
Chopping it live.
Let's go. Kris, I don't know, we've met probably 3 years ago in Collective Genius. You are one of the members for Collective Genius Select. You and your partner, Cody Dover, over here, fantastic guys. So I'm super excited to have you on the talk show today. And you're here for something super awesome that's going to happen here in the studio tomorrow, but I wanted to, get the opportunity to chat here today.
Yes.
Before we delve into the talk show today, I would like you to do a proper introduction of yourself.
Okay.
Who is Kris?
So my name is Kris Colstead. I live in Little Rock, Arkansas, but I do business there and also here in Pinellas County.
Which is fantastic. We're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Yep. So been in real estate since full-time since 2020. I left my job at the end of December. And I did real estate on the side from 2017 to 2020. Really heavy at the beginning of 2017, kind of stopped and got a shiny object syndrome kind of thing for a little while. And then towards the end of the year, 2019, really picked up calling leads for somebody. And then we ended up partnering with him to go full-time. And that was the beginning of the journey.
Wow. Actually, let's talk a little bit about that. You started doing that as a part-time thing while you still were working your
Yes.
W-2.
Yeah.
How was that like?
It was interesting. So my W-2, I spent 3 years kind of building up expertise in what I was doing. So by the time I started doing the calls and acquisition stuff for this guy, I had a lot of autonomy in my job. So I was able to go on appointments to make calls during my lunch break and calls in the evening, that kind of thing, and throughout the day when I could. And so that really opened up a space for me to I guess, I don't know how to say it, not be successful, but just to be in it, practicing, getting the reps in. It wasn't great at first, but I learned pretty quickly, and I had people to hold me accountable and to show me where I could be better. And so that really helped strengthen my capability before I went full-time.
That's awesome. So what was your W-2 in? Well, I guess what did you go to school for? What all of these things and how that transitioned to real estate?
Great question. Okay, so I played baseball my whole life. Okay, so after college or after high school, I was like, where am I going to go to college? Am I going to play baseball in college? So I ended up getting an offer for a scholarship. It was a NAIA Division I school. So this was a private institution, very academic, and they had a baseball program. So loved the academics, but also loved baseball. So I got a degree in math and economics.
Wow.
And when I got out of college, I was like, I'm ready to hit the ground running. I wanted to be an actuary. They basically are the ones that tell you what your interest rates are, or not insurance rates. So they run a complex math, thousands of variables to determine what you pay for homeowners or your property insurance, so or your car insurance. So I did. I was wanting to do that, and then I was like, well, I'm gonna go back home, and I don't know anyone that's an actuary there. I don't know how to get into that. So anyway, so I asked around. I was like, hey, could anyone give me a job? And this guy's like, hey, I'll sit down with you and we'll have a lunch talk or whatever. So I had a lunch talk with this guy, and he said, man, I'd like to give you a job. And I'm like, let's go. And he said, but you got to read this book before we get started. And I was like, I'll read it today. So it was Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Wow. First book?
First book.
That is crazy.
So he recommends that. I read it that night. And I'm like, hey, man, I know you want me to do insurance for you, but I need to be in real estate. And so I worked there for a couple of months, had this weird, interesting situation happen. I get my license. I'm gung-ho about it. I'm celebrating with my family. We're at dinner, and I run into a childhood family friend. And he's like, hey, man, we could use a guy like you at ABC. And I'm like, what is ABC? So ABC is a software company, and they do membership database and payment processing for gyms all around the country. So my first job with them was to travel all around the country to teach people how to use the software. So I opened up gyms here, all over the country, and did that for a while. And by the time I was leaving, I was a technical sales engineer.
Wow.
So I was like, the simple way of saying is like, I was step 7 of 8 in the sales process. So my job was to basically create a sandbox for your gym. And so you could see inside the software and say, hey, this is how your front desk would use it, personal training. Here are the reports you'd want to look at. Here's how easy it is. Look at that. Boom, boom, boom. And so I was like really good at that, closing deals and stuff. And so that provided me a lot of autonomy because I was an appointment-based guy at that point instead of 60 plus hours a week.
That is incredible. Would like to chat a little bit about the journey into baseball too. Like as a baseball player,
Yeah.
like going through school and doing all of that. Can you talk a little bit about that? I think that's fascinating.
Yeah. Let's see. You want high school or college?
College, yeah, or both.
High school was really difficult exercise-wise. There was like, man, we could beat the track team in their times for running their miles. We could compete with the football team in our weightlifting. Like, it was ridiculous. So It was very tough, but it actually prepared me for college better than I could have imagined. Because I get to college, I'm like, man, this is all we're doing for exercise. Like, I was running a 6-minute mile to start my workout and then getting into the work. So it was very, very helpful. In terms of like player development in college, man, that journey was really interesting because my intention was always to play professional baseball. And so that was like my background, right? So everything I did had that lens around it. And then I kind of like took that same lens and then brought it into business. So I didn't make it to professional baseball. I would be there, right? But I still had that mindset. And so that really helped me stay focused on what I was doing. You know, I was putting in the time to develop really. And that part of that development was the psychology that I had to develop.
Yeah. You kind of started to allude to my next question that I was going to have you. What are some of the skill sets that you've learned while you were playing baseball in college that has translated into business?
I would say some of the best skill is learning how to fail. In baseball, you fail 7 times out of 10, and you can get paid big bucks for it. So being able to cope with failure is really important, and also to understand that every time you step up to bat, for example, you have a new opportunity to succeed, right? And so it's like when you're at bat on this next opportunity, if you're worried about what happened at your last at bat, that's really going to thwart your ability to be focused and be present. And so being able to move on quickly and to understand that, I guess like very high level, it's a numbers game. Like you're going to have so many at bats, and if you put in the work, the practice really builds the skill. So if you're ever, I would say like nervous or not sure, a lot of that comes from a lack of preparation. So in baseball, it was like you had to prepare most of the time for, let's say 5% is the game, the 95% is the prep.
That is fascinating and fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. Now you're saying that has prepared you with for failures and all the other stuff. Yes. And I know that you had a rough first year in business. And obviously, you just mentioned that baseball has prepared you for that. Can you take me back? What was that first year look like when you first started with your business? So
when I first started, I think something that I had to cope with was going from a 9 to 5 schedule, and then now I make my own schedule. So I had so many opportunities in the work I was doing, and then now it's like, I'm not sure exactly what I need to be doing. What's the most effective action to be in all the time? And so that was kind of like, obviously it's calls. And so it's like, how do you get comfortable with dealing with that failure, right? It's a little different from baseball because I grew up playing and had so many years. So I had to get comfortable with that failing in the beginning with the calls. So how that showed up was we didn't really do well the first 6 months. And then 3 months in, COVID happened. And so,
wow.
Yeah. So like the motto at the college I went to for baseball was adapt, improvise, and overcome. So that was my mindset. I was like, all right, what do we do? We're failing here. How do we stay in the game? So it was, we started to position ourselves as leaders or authorities, if you will, by hosting Zoom calls. Hey, we know COVID happened, but guess what? We're still here. We're still buying real estate. We're still looking for investors to purchase our assignable contracts. So how that translated was we did 4 deals in the first 6 months, and then we did 54 deals the last 6 months of the year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a huge jump. 4
Huge.
deals for the first 6 months, 54 deals in the second half. What would you attribute to that big shift?
I think first is the psychology. So I had to understand that the seller situation is more important than my concerns in the moment. So if I take care of their concern, then that helps me in turn take care of mine. What was happening in the beginning was, hey, Mr. Seller, I need to take care of me. We'll take care of you too, but it's me first, right? And they can kind of sense that. So that was one thing. Another thing was to be a student of the business, right? I had to go in and study, like, what are the numbers? What is going on? So we realized that we had a sales cycle. So when we first had contact with a seller, it took us around 3 months before we actually closed, on average, to close that person. Some would be sooner, some a little longer. So we knew that, okay, 3 months is our average, so we just need to build up 3 months in our pipeline, and then we're just going to keep turning over deals, which ended up happening. And so I think those are two like really big things. And then once we started to see that and understand that, then we're like, now let's break it. Let's break our system. Let's hire cold callers. Let's get so many leads coming in that we don't know what to do. And so when that happened, we ended up saying, okay, you're here in acquisitions, I'm here on dispositions. Like, you take your thing, I take mine. We're just going to run. And so we kind of divided up roles and conquered.
That is great. So when you first started, I know you have one partner right now, Cody Dover. When you first started, did you have more than the two of you? Yep.
Yeah, so we had a third guy. His name's Paul. Paul was he was a financier of our operation, and Paul also would help out with strategy and then dispositions when he could. So he was very useful in the beginning of kind of like guiding us through the failure too, of like saying, hey, sometimes this is what happens. Let me look at the deal and the situation. If he needed to step in, he could. But a lot of times it was just like, I think we set it up a little wrong on the front end. So
yeah, so that's kind of like maybe a second part of my question. Obviously, I feel like a lot of people struggle with partnership. Going through that and kind of stop doing that, what are some of the advice that you would give for somebody at the very front end that are creating a business? Yeah. What are some of the advice that you would give them as it relates to partnership?
That's great. So in partnership, it's like a marriage, right? You're financially committed with someone. You are like obligated in terms of your role and their role, that kind of thing. So to me, what has been the most helpful is we're just direct in our communication. And we had to come to an agreement of, we're after being effective in producing outcomes for our business. We don't really care if we hurt each other's feelings, right? And so we started to see like, well, yeah, Kris, that was a great idea, but that's not as effective as this one. And so being able to have that soft communication to deliver a letdown, but not do it so like in your face with a lot of energy behind that's putting someone else down, we had to learn how to communicate. And so I think being prudent with that person in the beginning, and saying like, you can't really judge someone. I mean, you can as much as you can in the beginning, but you have to actually see how they perform, right? And what happens, I always think about what happens when the going gets tough. Yeah, we got a plan, but what happens when the plan doesn't go how the plan should? How do we respond? So if it's not working out, I would say do 30, 60, 90, just like you would with an employee. After 30 days, analyze it. Hey, how are we doing? How's it going? You still enjoying it? Are we, collaborating well? 60 days, 90 days, and then do a year review. But I think it would be foolish to say, hey, we're going to be in a long-term partnership. I'm just getting to know you, and let's do this. So I think being prudent and then being very open and honest in communication. And if you have a partner that's not open to that, I think that is a sign to maybe not be in partnership.
Yeah. Talking about that, one of the biggest thing I think one of the CG member, Mark Delatour, has said around that is like the ownership that never sells is a partnership.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah, I was just like, man, mind blown. So now you've been in business for how long now? Like 5 years. What are some of the biggest setback that you have gotten along the way? And on the flip side of that, what are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned over time?
I think regarding setbacks, one of the things that has plagued me personally is trying to be too perfect before getting started. And so while, yes, we're in business, there's always innovations that are taking place, or you start to notice things like, oh, I see that's going on. Maybe we need to change how we're speaking to people. But if we change too slow, we're now behind because we're losing deals, right? And so that's been a big lesson for me, or a setback that I had to come to grips with and like really deal with myself and say, hey, you're trying to be too perfect here. We had a great saying. We called it packing mics. So I'll explain. So basically the idea was that I was trying to be so perfect in my setup that I forgot to do the actual thing.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's like, how about let's do the thing, let's be in the situation, and then let's assess it, right? And so that's been my reframe, or my new perspective. But I think when you're dealing with marketplace changes, so one thing we've done to stay nimble, but also to stay in business is wholesale hasn't always been the best method for us, right? Sometimes we're buying rentals, sometimes we're flipping property. But in our market's a smaller market, so what we learned was, let's learn all the strategies and then choose every time a deal comes in, what's the best way to monetize this deal. And so having different exit strategies has been something that is a lesson that I actually really value. I know probably make more money just sticking to one thing, but that helped us survive in times when that one thing wasn't working.
Yeah, that is awesome. And this is great advice. And one other thing that I typically tell people is 80% done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
And also, I absolutely love the one thing idea, like, not to spread yourself too thin.
Right.
Obviously, if you have a main thing, that one thing that you're focusing on, obviously have backups and stuff like that you can work. But like, it's really good to not doing a gazillion things where you can kind of really focus yourself on something. One other thing that I would typically, probably like the past like 4 or 5 talk show that we've had, I always allude to that because I think it's so powerful. Mm-hmm. It's like there's 2 circles. Like the first circle, it's like from the book Essentialism. The first circle represent energy, and you kind of spending it in like 15 different smaller things that are growing very slowly. Or versus like, the other circle where you can put your energy into that one thing that shoots through the roof. So that's another thing that you kind of alluded to a little bit over there, but always kind of have a plan and backups, like in case, like, that one thing doesn't like, pan out. So you mentioned that you faced a lot of challenges over the period that you've been in business. Can you talk about the mental aspect of it?
Yes.
What are some of the toughest mindset battle that you've had to face, and how did you overcome them?
Well, first, I have a coach that I work with. So the coach her name's Karen. She's been instrumental in helping me manage my psychology and developing and kind of like, the way we say it is she's like the geek squad for the human brain. So she goes in and says, dude, you got Windows Vista. Like, we need to get that out of here. So you got to uninstall that program, which are all these wirings and neural networks that you have built a well-developed thought pattern about, and you need to integrate new thinking, right? So some of those things, I think we all struggle at times maybe with being a victim about things, right? So how do you take ownership and responsibility for literally everything in your life? Like, the outcomes you've created, they are because of your choices, right? And so we have to own that. And yes, things can happen that are external to us, but ultimately, we have to take responsibility for everything. And that's kind of my opinion there. The other thing is scarcity. Being an entrepreneur, different from a W-2 employee, is you don't have a safety net, right? I don't have that paycheck coming in 2 weeks. I have to go earn that paycheck. And so, that can produce scarcity. And I think it did very much so in the first 6 months, where, I was so focused on trying to take care of my own needs, I forgot to take care of the customer. And so that showed up in our conversation where they're like, I don't really want to do business with this guy. Like, he's nice, he's friendly, but not for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So you have a coach, her name is Karen. Mm-hmm. What would you say about the importance of having a coach?
The way I think about it is, someone who has a particular skill set that has either been there before, or mostly been there before, but also has the skills and capabilities to move through that and then to live the life they desire on the other side of that. So, for me, the coach was so important because she can see things that I can't. So oftentimes when someone's emotionally detached from a situation, they can assess it very easily compared to me being in it. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong here. Can you share? And, she's like, what do you mean? Like, here's the list, Yeah. And so I find that to be so valuable because when we can't see something, we literally don't have language for it. So how can we address it? So when you have a third party that can add language to it, you can begin to understand what's going on.
Awesome. You talk a little bit about scarcity mindset over here.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to the people that kind of they can definitely use a coach,
Mm-hmm.
but they're like afraid of spending money to acquire that coach or to have that specific people to help them?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The way I think about it is, and I've heard this a few times, but it's like, there's like this, I don't know, I think this hustle culture of like making all this money to then put it into a passive investment or to put it somewhere. Well, the somewhere I believe is in you. You need to reinvest in you. Because ultimately, if you're not willing to bet on yourself in the race, like betting on something else is never going to produce the return that you will. Your returns are infinite. So that's an understanding I had to come to for myself is like, I have to believe in me here, and I'm choosing that. And so making an investment in me was the single greatest thing I could have done because I have now skills, capabilities, networks. I have all this knowledge and background that, okay, now I can use that anytime, anywhere, any situation. Different from if I made an investment somewhere else or just didn't make an investment at all.
Yeah. Very, very awesome. So now let's talk about fear. Are there any moments like when you first started the business or even over that journey that you faced fear, and how did you silence that fear?
Yeah, that man's good. So the coach that I work with, when fears show up, it's often a symptom of something deeper that's going on. So what I work with her to do is to really uncover what is the root of that. Because if I can resolve and have a new story about this root situation, that actually reduces the fear that I feel on the surface. So I've gone through like literally so many things in my life. I've been doing this coaching work for a while now. But I've gone through so many situations in my life that when fear pops up, I go right to the root. I'm like, okay, it could be one of these 7 things. And I'm going through, oh, it's a money thing. Got it. So what are my narratives about money? What's my reframe about money? How do I understand this current situation and what can I reframe that to? So first is really just acknowledging that it's okay to be scared and to be in fear. And that's not a bad thing. It's actually very human of you. And oftentimes in the coaching, she's like, oh, congrats, you're a human being, And I'm like, God, it's so funny because hearing me in my own pity party, thinking and being in fear, I completely miss that. I think I need to be perfect.
Were there any moments over the journey that you thought about quitting?
The first 6 months was kind of like, what did I get myself into? That's one. I don't think anything outside of that, the first 6 months. A lot of it was, I know I have faith that things will work out. I just can't see what that outcome looks like right now. And so a lot of what I work on is like situational development. Okay, let me just allow that situation to develop a little bit because in my mind, being perfect, like my intention to be perfect, what I create is I need to know everything up front. And that's just not how life goes.
Yeah.
So I had to get comfortable accepting like, let's be in it. Let's develop. Let's see what goes on and how we can adapt and change and grow. And then I had to be willing to do the work to adapt, change, and grow. And that's, another skill set, if you will.
Yeah. So first year you went from 4 deals, and then second half of that year you had 54.
Mm-hmm.
And how many deals are you guys averaging now, like over the past 4 years after that first?
Well, so we've been in business for 5 years. We've done over 400 transactions. So I don't know the math on that, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's-
probably like 6 to 10 a month, somewhere in there.
Yeah, that is fantastic. And obviously growing so much now that you're expanding into a whole different territory. We'll talk
Yeah.
about that in a little bit. But what do you currently see that is working the best in the real estate industry?
Something we've always invested in digital marketing. So our digital marketing has been doing very well. I'd say that direct mail also does well. Cold calling is something that doesn't work very well anymore. That used to be actually our main source of business. We did like first year, every deal was from cold call, right? So then we transitioned to now we have one cold caller. So we've really flip-flopped that, but the digital stuff is really working right now. We're also finding that building the brand online has also, like, yes, we run ads, but just building an organic brand and a name for yourself in the marketplace. We get referral deals all the time. That's something that's been working for us. I'd say we've slowed the flipping and on-market stuff just because we've had a slowdown, you know. Although we do have homes that are still selling, but some are not. They're taking more time. So we're after cash now, money now. So we're moving quickly to wholesale, novation, and we're seeing some success there.
Fantastic. You mentioned digital marketing is one of the things that is working really well for you right now. Can we unpack that a little bit?
Sure.
What are you doing as it relates to digital marketing and to build that authority in your market?
Yeah, so so in digital marketing, we started in 2018 or late 17 in doing SEO stuff and PPC as well. So we run Facebook ads, we do YouTube ads, we do Google ads, we do organic, content, we do blogs and stuff on our website to produce clicks organically. So that's been a main source for us, and that's what we're doubling down on.
Okay. Organically, what are some of the strategies that you're using to connect with your other people, obviously to gain people's trust, to like make referrals to you or to become that well-known brand in your market?
Yeah. So we have a marketing guy. So he probably would know way better than me, but I'll share what I do know. All the time, what we're after is dropping our costs to build trust with people. That is the single most difficult thing to do with people. So the idea with digital marketing for us is if someone can have the trust already built before we get on the phone with them, we're good. Our close time is really short. So our whole goal in our content and marketing is how do we produce trust quick? So trust can show up in many ways. It could be testimonials. It could be Google reviews, Facebook reviews. It could just be that you're posting often, right? And people start to say, like, this guy now has a presence. He has this identity, so to speak, that I know about him. I know a little bit about what he does. I like what he has to say, so therefore the trust is easier than if it's a straight cold approach.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm glad that you mentioned that because it's great, like when you jump on a call with somebody and you don't have to explain everything.
Yeah.
They already feel like they know you. And that's why, like, a lot of people just kind of like if GZ drops something, like because of all the notoriety that he has, and also like being such like, posting so often and like, building that culture with his, people that are like following him. So like you feel like those types of people. So like by posting consistently and doing all of that too, definitely increases, the trust and authority that you're building with those types of people over time.
Yeah. I was going to say one thing that I thought was really funny. So we had a lead fill out our form this week, and they sent us a screenshot of Cody on TV.
Yeah.
Are you this guy? Cody's like, that's me.
That is fantastic.
So
yeah, that's cool.
It further like kind of expresses the trust being built without us being present.
Yeah. I also like to add on that too, like posting on social media too, you do not need to constantly be selling. Like, hey, buy from me, buy from me, buy from me, buy from me. You need to provide value. And that's kind of what truly like build that trust and authority with people by kind of, like for you guys, like you can be posting like FAQs videos. You can be posting like problem solution, like, thinking about all the major problems that people might be facing and then address them, educate them. And I love that Mark De La Torre, that's one of the things that he's doing, where he builds like a whole library resource of a bunch of video that educates people, which is so fantastic. He came here and shot those videos, but that is a total different approach than like most of the people in the real estate industry are like, doing. But by taking the stand of like not wanting to like solely sell, but actually educate people, I think that's a big thing that a lot of real estate investors are missing right now by providing value. Like even Gary Vaynerchuk says it all the time. It's not like, hook, but it's like, job, and then right hook.
That's what
like
I think about every time.
That's what you think about every time. Awesome. By kind of educating people first before trying to sell all the time. If you're trying to sell them in every single post, that's the quickest way to lose that trust and authority with them.
Yeah. Well, it turns like if they're not interested, maybe they wouldn't down the road, but if they see that all the time, they like don't even acknowledge it anymore.
Yeah.
And I think something that this is like a nugget, at least for me, that I learned is, AI helps make a lot of things more personal. So I can personalize a lot of things quicker than I could in the past. And so, we're noticing the seller's important, but so is the buyer. So is our network actually too. And so how do we cultivate and build a network all the time with everybody? That's employees, that's our colleagues, people also in the real estate industry or other people, but sellers as well. So, something that we're doing is a newsletter monthly to share and just go over what's going on with us, with the marketplace, what we're seeing. But the intent of that is to share so people can, not only our sellers, but other people we can build that identity with in a new way. So a newsletter offers different outlets for us. So like I could make different offers in that newsletter. Hey, join our community. Hey, we're doing this. We're raising capital here. Want to combine the studio tomorrow? Like these kinds of things can be really effective when you have that base of people that you can push it to.
Yeah. For anybody that is watching this, please like, share, and subscribe. We'd greatly appreciate it. Today we're talking about Kris' personal journey that had some challenges in them, some great success. Obviously, if you've been listening to this, like mind blown, some really insightful tips and tricks that you're providing. I'm super grateful about that. Let's get back to it. So now let's transition to the why. Every entrepreneur that starts a business, they have a why. And I think we were talking about that earlier.
Yes.
A little bit. What is your why? Why do you do what you do?
It's a great question. I've always been a very customer service driven person. So being able to solve problems for people helps me feel like I'm contributing to something greater than myself. But also, I'd say here more recently, my why has really been around God. It's been very centered around God. So I've been developing. I'm like very new to the Bible and stuff, but I'm learning, and I'm like really enjoying that. So that contributes to my why. But in any endeavor that we do, we always have to have the story. And I think the why story is it shows up to me in 3 different ways. So it always starts with life. What does an ideal life look like? Financially, how much does that life cost? And then how the heck are you going to produce that money? So I think about it that way, and what happens is if I constitute that this is how I want my life to be, then now I've got to make commitments to produce that life, and I have to be willing to incur the costs of that commitment, which sometimes that means I don't do that. I need to say no to those friends. I can't go to this today. I'm sorry. I'm working on something, right? Or whatever your story is, but being able to know what direction that you need to move in and being willing to incur the cost. So sometimes that could be looking bad, or maybe friends are like, dude, what's going on? You're not hanging out as much. I always like to add my story. Well, I'm not hanging out because of this why that I have. I want to live a good life now and also in old age. And that requires me to have a lot of money. Different from, I know a lot of people that they don't have that story of what it means to live a good life or how to take care of themselves in old age. And so my why goes always back to taking care of my survival, being able to adapt when the marketplace changes, because it always will, and then being able to be far away from survival, which is what I constitute as living a good life. So.
That's fantastic. Now let's transition to networking. Obviously, you have a fantastic event coming up here tomorrow at the studio. Yep. Let's go. They say that your network is your net worth. How has, like, you know, for you, building like a network and relationship been like a great part of your business and your success?
Ooh. So first is when I have a gap that I'm intending to close, so like let's say it's a capital gap, we need to raise capital, that gives me direction of what network to build. And so over time, I've had all these gaps that I've had to close, and because of that, that's had me be curious about people and situations, and I've been able to network with people because of that, which is actually funny enough how we got introduced to CG. We were curious, and some guy was like, "Are you guys not in CG?" And we're like, "What's CG?" And he's like, "Oh, I need to hook you up." So he connected us, and we're like, "Yeah, we need to be part of this." But we were seeking help from, we were actually in Phoenix at the time. We went to a local real estate meetup, really just to connect and learn from other people to see how are they dealing with marketplace changes, and that came up. So always building a network for me, like you want to, I think of it like you want to have the network there so when you need them, you can call on them, but you don't always make offers to them, right? Like you're the jab, jab, jab hook, right? So you always want to build value with people so that when you do engage with them, they're willing to engage. So like I said, it just had a bunch of different situations. So it could be like, we need buyers. Great. Smiling, dialing. Talking to buyers, learning about their story, situation, how can I help? And then next thing you know, I'm having coffee with them. They're like, "Dude, you need to meet my banker." Great. So then I got the banker now, right? And it's like, "Hey, my insurance guy's really good. He provides great rates." Great, I'll have him quote everything we got. Perfect. So it's like the being curious about other people and what their concerns are, I think is like a great foundation for networking. But also understanding, like, if you have a gap somewhere and building that network, that can help you take care of you, but also you can be curious about other people.
Awesome. We would not have this talk show without talking about CG, because obviously that's how we met.
Yep.
And for the people that are watching this, and I think that could be very valuable for them to learn about CG. So you are part of CG Select. They have they have multiple levels, and you're part of CG Select. So, and I think you joined, if I remember correctly, in 2022. How has, first of all, what is CG, and how has CG helped your business grow over time?
Man, really good. So CG is a community of real estate investors from all over the country. We collaborate all the time. So there's weekly calls, there's events in person, where it really, like when we first showed up, it was kind of like, you know, we're a little timid, kind of like feeling out the crowd and everything, right? But what I love so much about CG is it's organized around help. And I think I found that to be like so incredible. So when you start to help people and you become vulnerable with them, you really start to build a family. And that's kind of how I feel like CG is for me, is like, you show up to the event, you're like, "What's up, man? How are you?" You know, like there's so many people where you're like, they're so familiar to you. And so that's why I like the idea that it's a community and like a family too. So in the different tiers, they're done by like deal volume or revenue or something. So basically you get put in your tiers or whatever, and then basically you're with people that may be in the same situation or solving the same problem as you. And so that allows an opportunity for you to communicate, collaborate, say, "Hey, I got a gap here, me too, boom, let's work together. What are you doing? Here's how we got help." So CG has been a great resource, because whenever you have questions, or if you don't maybe know something, maybe you need a connection, CG's like, boom, here you go.
Yeah. I totally 100% agree with you that I consider everybody in CG like family.
Yeah.
And we talked about a little bit about mindset too. Like sometimes I may be like in that funk where, like, you know, my mental kind of capacity is like somewhat depleted. And then I go to CG and automatically, boom, it goes like straight back up, because, and it's kind of a little bit different because I go to all the events. I, you know, help with Elevate, Select, Premier, and then CEO. to kind of be able to do that. And every single level that you go to is just kind of feels like family. And the opportunity, to travel with them and helping and serving has been fantastic. And also, to your point, definitely surrounded around helping and about people giving. That's the culture there, the go-giver mentality, and also the ego. The people in there are not driven by ego. They leave their ego at the door and really help each other grow and collaborate. And totally it's a community.
And for context, what the go-giver mentality is like, CG has, when we first started, it was hot seat champs, and that's given to, voted by the members, the most helpful person or most giving person of the time that we're together. And if you're after winning the belt, boy, wouldn't you want to go give help to people? It's like, and then if you think about that, and now everybody's in that mindset, what a way to organize how we come together. And that's just fantastic, man. I mean, I just have found so much joy with that.
Yeah, that is awesome. It's been an incredible journey, helping and serving with CG. It's been over 7 years now since I've been kind of helping. It's really, really, really fantastic organization. So if you are a real estate investor looking to scale your business, I would highly recommend that you join CG.
Absolutely.
I think the website is
thecollectivegenius.com.
No, there is another website that I was going to do, but cgschedule.com. No, I butchered that. We'll add it to the comments below. But that's the great thing too. Some of the greatest friends that I've met over the past 7 years have been through CG. It's been super fantastic. Obviously, that's how I met you. And doing all of that. Here we are. Really cool. So let's move and talk about the event that we are going to have here tomorrow at the studio.
Yes.
So first of all, what is that event is going to be about?
Yeah. So the event is about unlocking potential. And so what the way it was organized is, we're always talking about marketplace changes, but earlier you asked the question of what's your why? And so what I find is that when we're in marketplace change, things can be chaotic, it can be confusing, and we can often focus so much on figuring something out, we forgot our why. And so that can produce an aimless drift, and which can cause further breakdown. So part of the event, or the idea with the event, is to help add language around ambition, or what does it mean to live the good life that you desire? Because I think we all are after that at some point, or some form or another. But also we're going to be discussing offers. What are offers? How do we make offers? What's marginal utility of an offer? In marginal utility with an offer, I just want to make just enough of an offer to you that you accept me over my competition, right? So I'll give you a great example. I bought this house. I was competing with someone. I was the last person there, and I said, what would it take to get this done? And she said, beat his offer by, I think I beat it by $500. And then she said, well, can you put an electrical outlet in my new house? So I'll have my guys over there soon. We'll get it done. So $500 and an electrical outlet got me that deal. But if I didn't ask that, that's my marginal utility in that deal. So there's so many areas in our lives, where we can add that marginal utility, but a lot of it is asking, how can we do that? So we'll go over some offer stuff there. And then the last thing is identities. We're always building an identity in the marketplace, and identity can be complex. There's many things and facets that go into it. And so we'll go over that. Just a light overview would be accomplishments feed into your identity because they're demonstrations of your knowledge. But when you're building an identity, it always starts with trust. So your accomplishments help drop the cost when you're producing trust. Which is why you hear people say we've done so many deals, or we've done this much, is to build that accomplishment for the lower cost for trust. So trust, and then you have value. So it always goes trust, then value, then authority, and then leadership. And ultimately, when we're building identities and people want to be around us, when we can lead someone into a future that they couldn't do for themselves, that's where the real value kicks in, where people are I need to be around him as much as I can, because he's taken me places that I couldn't go on my own.
Yeah.
So a little overview there.
Yeah, this is fantastic. And we're going to have, 15 to 20 people here tomorrow. And I cannot wait to, seeing, what you guys are going to share and the impact that you're going to have on those people. Obviously, that was very intentional to keep the group very small, and can't wait for that. So we talk about ambition and scaling mindset. Was there a moment that you thought that, man, I need to think bigger?
Yeah, actually, at the beginning of this year. There have been many moments. I think the how about getting there has been interesting. So getting bigger or growing bigger, one thing that I had to, so back to the commitments, is if I'm in a commitment to, let's say, 20x what I initially wanted to do, thinking big, there are new costs that I have to incur in order to fulfill the commitments required there. So if I have a family, would I want to see less of my kids? Would I want to miss soccer, baseball, or whatever it is to then go focus on the 20x goal? I don't know. That's something that you have to weigh out. So in the thinking big idea, I think there's different ways to do it. And what has shown up for me around thinking big this year is that thinking big, you have to add value somewhere, but you can also do that through partnerships. You can do that through employing people to help. And so for me, what we've done is we have our day-to-day, we call it cardio money.
Cardio money, huh?
Yeah, because you got to run, take care of it. But we also have things that we're working on that are larger lump sums that can help contribute to whether it's assets or whether it's like an increased earned income for a given year. So our cardio money, which is our day-to-day business, like We Buy Houses Pinellas or Little Rock Property Buyers, that helps us take care of our day-to-day to live. And then we're working on projects to produce income down the road and assets also that are much larger. So that's what my thinking big looks like at the moment. And my intention is that over time it will grow. We've tried the scaling thing. We had to scale back. So, I think a lot of the scaling thing comes from a leadership development, and that's where I'm actively working, but I don't know that I'm necessarily there. Maybe that's a perfectionist thing.
Yeah.
Going back to what you were saying earlier.
Yeah, totally. And also, like, people, they think so much about skills, but the very first thing that you need to do before even doing that is skilling yourself first.
Man, that's good.
One of my favorite things that I've been doing recently is, and I learned that from my great friend Tom Kroll, is reading. As simple as that, like reading more. And it's so funny though. He teaches like just focus on reading 8 pages a day. That's it. Wow. Super simple. Anybody can do that. But obviously I do more than that, like when I read. But it's funny, every single time I take a book and start reading it, that lessons, those things that I'm learning from those books are showing up every single day in my life as I'm reading them.
Wow.
For example, I was reading a book about offers and like funnels and all of that. I cannot tell you how many times I've referenced the book, the things that I'm learning as part of the talk show or even in conversation that I've been having. Another one, for example, I was in a call, a coaching call with Coaching Inc. and Tom Kroll, and they had a fantastic presentation. And one of the very first things that they talked about in the book is something 2 days prior I was learning from the book. From the presentation 2 days prior, like it kind of tends to, like as I am like learning and doing all of that, that shows up every single day in the conversation that I'm having and kind of making me look smarter too. But it's just kind of like that development, personal development to scale yourself first before you try to scale your business. Like one of the things that, and that is a huge inspiration to me, is Eric Brewer.
Yes.
Like posting a bunch of like, types of content. And
he's the man.
I went and to film, and I don't think I've ever shared that with him. I went to film in Pennsylvania, and the last 2 or 3 videos that we were filming was at his house. When I was there, he was still in the shower upstairs, and I like started setting up, and I hear him listening to a book super loud in the shower upstairs. And I was like, man, that is great. That is fantastic. That like even while he's taking a shower, he's like listening to Audible.
Always plugged in.
Always plugged in and
That's
always
so good.
learning. And I've seen his posts online about how he's investing in his staff too. So yeah, before you scale, you definitely need to focus on yourself first, because that is going to like open so much opportunity for you and also kind of help you along that journey as well.
Man, thank you. That's good.
Appreciate that. Yeah, that was awesome. So we talked about ambition and scaling. Now, offers. What are some of the requirements or like things that you can do to build an offer that is attractive to other people?
Yeah. All offers are offers of help, and everybody needs help. They just don't necessarily need your help, right? So when I make that distinction, what comes up is if you make common help, you'll be priced in the market, which means that people are going to go with the best price, not necessarily the best value. So when you are intending to have an offer be accepted, the idea is that you need to provide value to their concerns, their situations, what they're currently capable of, and what stories are they in. So with offers, it's help. So we're like with a seller, just as an example. Okay, now I have avatars of sellers. Okay, I've got a tired landlord. I've got a divorced someone, right? So if I'm making an offer to that person, sometimes speed may be important. Sometimes they just need a little bit more time. Maybe they need 30 days post-occupancy. We don't know. But based on these avatars, if they're like facing foreclosure, maybe they need a little time to find a place. Well, we can get them out of their foreclosure, give them 30 days post-occupancy, and that helps. So that is a way to make an offer, but it's just understanding their situation. And we learned that by talking with them. Oh, that didn't work. Why didn't that work? I don't know. Let's call them. Hey, Mr. Seller, hey, it looked like it didn't work, but do you mind just giving us a little bit of feedback? Like, how could we have been better here? I guess my point in that is we're linguistic people and beings, and if we can't sit here and observe and say, I know what they're going through, we don't. We have to ask them to understand what they're going through before we can then make an interpretation. So it's the same thing with sellers. It's the same thing with anything. So if you're making an offer, the idea is you need to understand the concerns that the recipient is in. And part two to that is, in any offer, you want to make sure that you're making a promise to them, but also that they're reciprocating a promise. So in a real estate transaction, it's like, you know, I'm making an offer to buy a house, so I'm going to pay a purchase price at a closing date. You know, there's terms agreed to that. The seller's going to transfer ownership. They're going to agree to the terms as well. And if they need to be out, then that's another, condition that they'll need to fulfill. And so when I do make the offer, we all always talk about that. What's the reciprocal promise they're making? So when you're designing offers to help people, that's for you, but also you need to understand how they're going to, how you help them, but also how they can help you.
Fantastic. That is awesome. So now we talked about the first two things, ambition, scaling, and now we talked about identity. No, we're going to talk about identity. Question for you: how has your identity evolved through the whole journey?
Oh, that's good.
That you've had in real estate.
Yeah, man, that's a really good question. It has been very noticeable in my local market. So, for example, when we first started, I couldn't get a call back from the title company. We couldn't find the buyers. We had to it was so difficult in the beginning to find the buyers. And then what happened was we had a lot of deals going on. We started to engage with some of the buyers, and they actually gave us a little bit of time. All we needed was that little bit of time to sit down with them. And I remember to this day, we're out, this guy had an ADU at the back of his house, and that's where he worked. And so we went out there, and we had I think 10 deals going on at the time. And we're sitting there in a group of 3 of the largest buyers in our area. We didn't know it at the time. We were just going to meet up and just talk shop with them. Well, from that conversation, we they kind of got to know us a little bit, and they're like, okay, I think these guys can be trusted. And then, we were I'd sell 7 houses in one phone call, So it just really changed the game. And then when that happened, then it's hey, since we're dealing with these people, we have so many deals with these people, title companies, we want to deal with you, we'll pick up your phone call, and then it's now we talk to the owner, and, we can work these different things. So It's been really helpful to drop the costs that I would otherwise incur. So if I was starting today, I would have a lot of costs to overcome because I got to build the identity with everybody. But since we've established one and they can anticipate how we'll take care of their concerns, then they're more willing to do business with us or refer us to people.
Fantastic. How do you balance personal growth and business growth?
I think it's a dance, truthfully. How I do my personal development, a lot of it is like I set aside time in the morning. I set aside time in the evening. Or if there's a break and I'm not sure what to do, I can do some personal development. And that's like when I don't know what to do. That's very rare these days because I'm like very scheduled. But in those times when I do find myself there, that's my default. I go right to that. And so that is helpful. And then noticing in business and the development of business is like my network is a big piece. So they can help close gaps. So I could go to them and say, hey, I'm really interested in learning how I can better read my P&L, balance sheet and statement of cash flow. Okay, great. Let's have a conversation. Boom, I get this new narrative about how to do that. That was very low cost for me and perhaps for them too, but that's how I'm developing in the business way, or maybe I'm reading a book. Personal development, I do it a little different with the coach and it kind of takes on its own form. So I do a lot of like homework with myself. Maybe it's conversations I need to have with people. And then it's obviously the conversations with the coach. So
yeah, great. So over the past 5 years, you have been very successful with Little Rock Properties buyers in Arkansas. So now you are venturing into a new market, which is here in Florida, in Pinellas County, which is awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So how did you come to make that transition, or like why did you guys decide to open a new branch here in Pinellas County?
So when I worked for the software company, well, let me back up a little bit. When I played baseball, after my junior year in college, I was kind of having this real conversation like, am I doing what it's going to take for me to play professional baseball? At the moment, no. So what is the remedy to that? And this girl I was dating at the time, her dad was like, hey, my mom lives down near Miami. You should go play baseball down there for the summer and stay with her. That way you can really focus on just baseball and do that. Well, I literally Googled like South Florida College League and pulled up South Florida Collegiate League, applied to a team. The guy calls me, he's like, hey, you want to be on the team? I'm like, yep. And he's like, okay, come on down. And so, he sold me on a bill of goods. That wasn't exactly it. But what happened was I had to come through Tampa to get down there. I was driving from Arkansas. And so I came out here and I'm like, man, Clearwater's pretty sick. I went to Siesta Key with a buddy for the 4th of July. Loved that. But I played baseball down in Miami, and I'm like, man, if I could just make it down here, like down to the southern part of Florida, the vibe is just so different. The people are different. It's just so enjoyable. It's like, man, the worst thing I got to do today is go watch the sunset.
Yeah.
It's like I could have the worst day, and then that's like, it's a remedy for me at least. Anytime I've been around water has been very enjoyable, so I want to move closer to that. But I think also when I was traveling for the software company, I came to Tampa, I came to like Bradenton, many places, Indian Rocks Beach. I opened up several crunches here, and other gyms too, but they were my main one. So I'd always come here and I'm like, man, this is so enjoyable to be down here. Like I'd always see on our spreadsheet, like when you get to see like where you're going. I'm like, oh, let's go. I'm going to Tampa, And so that was always really enjoyable. And so I'm like, how do I now, this is years later now, how do I make that transition? And so that the transition was, I've been talking about it, but now what are you going to do about it? So I started to do some marketing. Maybe it was like a year and a half ago. I did a couple of deals down here. It was not really anything very fruitful, but just working through the kinks, learning the area. Like there's a lot of stuff for me to learn, different from Arkansas. And then I had a buddy, his name's Josh, he does our marketing. He's like, hey, can you look for me a house down here? And I was like, yep. So then eventually he's like, hey, what if I ran ads down here? Would you guys want to do the acquisition disposition? Yep. So we're working with those guys down here to find properties, wholesale properties, fix and flip them, hold for rental, but a lot of it right now is wholesale.
That is fantastic. Congratulations, man. This is good. So excited to have you like more in this area. And obviously, there's going to be more. I hope there is going to be more of the things that we're doing to more here. But now that you're selling down here too, it makes it, so much easier. Super awesome. So now we are nearing the close of the talk show, and I have some quick hitters questions that we have.
Let's do this.
So first one, I typically ask everybody that question: what is the $1 million advice that you would give to anybody watching this?
Sorry, this is supposed to be a quick one. $1 million advice: be clear on what you want and be relentless in the pursuit of that.
Can you expand on that?
Yep. What's your why, or what's your ambition? And then the relentless pursuit is you're likely going to fail along the way. That's the nature of being a human. But be relentless in that. The failure is more of just a lesson to learn. Okay, we didn't know that information. We didn't have that information. Okay, how do we change? So I think that would be what I'd say.
Awesome. Now looking back over the past 5-10 years, what advice would you give to your younger self as to where you are at in your journey right now?
Have faith. For so long, I thought I had to figure it out. But in reality, it's like, how do I say that? I thought I needed to be perfect. And so when I wasn't perfect, then it was like I couldn't trust that what I'm doing is actually like getting me there. So I'd always had anxiety around that, which the coach was very effective for. I think it'd be have faith, and it's okay to not know. And that can be uncomfortable, but be willing to sit in that uncomfortability and acknowledge that and let that be okay.
Yeah.
And then have faith.
What legacy do you want to leave behind?
Oh, my new legacy is disciples. Like, I want to make disciples. And so I'm learning how to, I'm studying to show myself approved, as it says in the Bible, by reading the Bible and my prayers every day. And I do Bible study at my house, go to church a couple times a week. Like, these things really help build a background for me to be guided or spirit-led, so to speak, so that I can make disciples and share the Word of God.
Awesome. What is your parting advice for anybody watching this video?
Love yourself, have faith, create a plan, get clear on that plan, and execute.
Boom. There you go. Super excited to have you on the show today, man. That was a fantastic conversation, and hearing all the great things that you had to share. I think every single answers that you gave me were packed with tips and tricks and things that our audience here could find very valuable. So thank you for coming here as soon as you landed on the airport, at the airport, and come here and chat it with me over here on the talk show.
Absolutely.
Super grateful to have you on the show, and can't wait to have the event tomorrow with you.
Likewise, man.
Awesome.
Been a pleasure.
If you're watching this, I guess I was gonna say to go follow you on social media, but for people that are watching this, how can they get a hold of you, or how can they follow you in your journey?
Yeah, man. I don't really post much on social media. I probably should do more, and that's great intention. So I'm Kris Colstead, KrisKolstedt on all platforms. So Instagram at Kris Colstead, Twitter same thing, and Facebook.
Yeah, I think Kate Denise kind of not introduced you because I knew it before, but when we were texting the 3 ways, she said Kris with a K. Maybe
Kris
you should like a
moniker.
A moniker over here for sure. Shout out to you, Kate, if you're watching this. But pleasure having you on the talk show, man.
Enjoyed it, man.
Super excited for tomorrow.
Yes,
so
sir.
There you have it. Have a fantastic day. Let's go, baby. It's fire.